Ollie, what are we talking about today, man?
There was a lot of news announced. Probably some of the most exciting Star Wars news we've had in a while. Origins of the Jedi. I think it's going to delve deeper than any other Star Wars film in terms of like the meaning of the Force and the meaning of keep it in balance.
We got the Mando-Verse film. That's what they're calling it. Dave Filoni film.
Yes, a big battle for Mandalore. It's going to combine the story of Ahsoka into it as well. It looks like Ahsoka's going to be adapting to the Empire and a movie about Rey and a new Jedi Order 15 years after the sequel trilogy.
That fight choreography, bro, from Revenge of the Sith, they have to bring it back. It is like a lot of this Rey hating, is that really an echo chamber? Hey, what is up, guys? Very, very excited for today's episode. We were talking Star Wars and everything from Star Wars Celebration. You guys know who I am. I'm Zan.
I'm Oli.
And we
are
the
Invincibles.
It's to a T now, to a T. Ollie, what are we talking about today, man?
Well, there was a lot of news announced. So Star Wars Celebration was across 4 days this year, and on the first day alone, there was probably some of the most exciting Star Wars news we've had in a while. 3 new movies, not a trilogy, 3 individual standalone movies. We'll get into the details of them in a bit, but first of all, just briefly, one about sort of the origins of the Jedi, the birth of the Jedi Order, then sort of a movie about the culmination of all the stories in The Mandalorian, and then a movie about Rey and a new Jedi Order 15 years after the sequel trilogy, which could be very exciting.
Yeah.
Then there was a bit of news about Skeleton Crew, which Jude Law's going to be starring in. I'm looking forward to that. I think that's going to be quite interesting. Bit more stuff about Acolyte, which should be, again, set 1,000 years before the prequel trilogy, I believe. So that's set in a very interesting period of Star Wars that's not been explored on screen before. Brand new trailer for Ahsoka. And the reveal of Thrawn in live action, which, wow. I'm so excited for that. Then 5 minutes of footage from the new Indiana Jones, which I was not expecting. Again, not Star Wars, but Lucasfilm, so still quite cool.
Heir probably cares more about that than Star Wars anyway.
Yeah. And then confirmation of Bad Batch getting season 3, which will be the final season of that show. Tales of the Jedi is getting another season, which was I thought that was excellent, that show. And I know one of your favorite shows, Star Wars Visions, is getting another season.
Bro, I'm so excited for that, bro. I will. We can talk about that later in the show, bro. But oh man, Star Wars Visions to me is peak Star Wars cinema, bro. Like that first episode with the Ronin, I was like, I'm hooked. Give me more Star Wars stuff that isn't made by American animators. Like this was fantastic. See, like the anime version of Star Wars, to see like other animation styles in Vision season 2. We got African styles. We got some I forget I'm having a brain fart because I'm so excited. But there's Indian styles, excuse me, Aztec. We're getting an Aztec Star Wars Visions episode. So there's like a lot of different cultures that have their own animation styles that tell their own interpretation of the Force and Star Wars. And that's something that Star Wars desperately needs, is just freshness and cool characters, you know? So like, can you imagine if the Ronin was in Battlefront 2 as a DLC, bro? Like that would be so cool.
Oh, mate.
We could talk about that forever, but yeah, the Star Wars Celebration, bro. It was funny because before the celebration, man, I was on Twitter. You guys can see it on Twitter. I tweeted Star Wars is dead. And then literally 12 hours later, all of this dropped. I ended up deleting my tweet. I was like, well, I'm an idiot. Like,
yeah.
I'm so excited, bro. Star Wars just like that revitalized everything. Very, very excited for this, bro.
Where should we get started? What should we dive into first?
Let's start out with the movies, man. I feel like that's, let's just talk about the movies, bro. And you know about Star Wars way more than me, man. You even have the lightsaber, bro. Show them the lightsaber.
Wait, let me turn the sound on. It's a bit more impressive when the sound's on.
Oh, bro, it's so cool, bro. Is that Ahsoka or no? No,
No,
it's
this is
orange.
kind of an orangey one. Let me turn me background off
Okay, yeah.
so everyone can see.
Go ahead, bro.
There we go.
Oh, that is sick. Also, I love that poster in the background.
Oh yeah. I'll tilt my camera up so everyone can see that. It's of an old Star Wars comic from back in the day.
I love it, bro.
Okay, let's have a look at the different colours.
So that's orange.
I forgot to use this. Did you hear that? Oh, it's playing music now. I don't know how to turn this off.
Yeah, I didn't hear it. It like cut off. All right, so we got the white. We got the green.
Green.
That's what I would have. Green or purple. Oh man. Bro. And then we got
I think blue might be my one,
blue.
I think blue suits me. Even
Yeah,
though
man.
I'm a Liverpool fan.
Don't support Everton now.
I think what goes into kind of a whitish one,
Okay.
and then sort of pink.
Pink lightsabers are pretty cool. If I could have one, I would. I'm not gonna lie. I would definitely have one because nobody has one, so I would definitely have one.
Look at that.
Yeah, bro. Sith. It's like Sith, but not Sith red. Like I like that. That's dope, bro. And that's what I'm saying, guys. Like that's what we're talking about. Ollie knows Star Wars. He is Star Wars. The way I won't shut up about Spider-Man and Aquaman. He knows Star Wars, bro. Like this is his thing. So, and we're also later on we're going to be talking about the sequel trilogy. And honestly, did it hit? Did it miss? We'll be addressing some very famous Star Wars content creators and a lot of their, you know, I will avoid names because I will let Ollie take the kill there. So, but very, very excited, bro. But let's get to it, man. You know, Star Wars. Let's start at the real beginning, literally in this new timeline. Or not new, but the Disney timeline, the James Mangold movie. So what's happening there? Like, what's happening? And like, kind of explain it like I don't know Star Wars. You get what I'm saying? Like,
Okay, so it's basically going to be about. They said it's like a biblical story about sort of the early days of the Jedi Order, and when I heard this, I was reminded of a video. I think it was from a guy called Stupendous Wave on YouTube. He makes some brilliant Star Wars content, like so informative. And I went back and watched that video about sort of the dawn of the Jedi. This is in like Legends because this hasn't been addressed in canon yet. This is
so what is Legends, real quick? What is Legends?
So for the people who don't know, Legends is sort of the expanded, what was known as the expanded universe. So all the comics, novels, games, anything outside of the films that existed before Disney took over. Then when Disney bought Lucasfilm, all this expanded universe became known as Legends, and then Disney started their own canon with new novels, new comic books, new games. So in Legends, there was a series of comics called Dawn of the Jedi. I started reading these today because I bought them on my Kindle, so I thought I've got to read these. If they're making a film about this, I want to read these so I can see what they've drawn from. And the video from Stupendous Wave takes a lot of his information from this comic series. And to give a bit of an idea of what this film could look like, 20, I think it's 26 to 30,000 years before any of the events like the prequel trilogy. About 26,000 years before, there was this planet called Tython, which has actually been visited in The Mandalorian. That version of it isn't really consistent with what it was like in Legends. But basically, there was these massive structures. They were like these pyramid sort of spaceship structures. There was multiple like multiple of these. They're called Thoyar, these massive pyramid structures. They were scattered, like there's loads of them across the galaxy, all on different planets, and the inhabitants of the planets were like drawn to these pyramids and started like worshipping it. And they didn't know at the time that was the Force calling them to these structures. And then suddenly one day, I don't know how long they'd been worshipping these pyramids at this time, but a door in each of them just opened, and they all, like all the people who've been drawn to it by the Force, all these Force sensitives, boarded these ships and all got taken to the planet Tython. And there was this one Thoyar in the middle of this huge structure on the planet Tython, which is like sort of the center of the galaxy, basically, because this planet is in the deep core of the galaxy in sort of the Star Wars universe, and no one had really discovered it before because it's in the deep core. It's really hard to navigate. No hyperspace lanes and stuff like that, and hyperspace travel in the Star Wars universe hadn't been discovered by this point as well. So they all get taken to this planet Tython, and they all start, like, the Force is so powerful there. They, like, you really feel it. And as the people who were brought to this planet started to breed, and kids were born who weren't Force sensitive, over time the people who weren't Force sensitive had to be taken away from this planet and separated from their families because the Force was so strong there. And if something just threw it off balance, say someone tapped into the dark side a bit too much, or was purely good and didn't use any part of the dark side at all, there'd be violent storms and earthquakes on this planet, and the planet it'd go into like a very sort of the planet would be, in having loads of natural disasters and stuff like that because the Force wasn't in balance. So I think that'd be a really interesting thing to see them adapt in live action. Just that whole story of all these people from across the galaxy coming to the planet Tython, and those people became known as, not the Jedi, I think it's the Jedi, Jei apostrophe Dai.
Okay.
So Jedi, and the comic series. I've only read the first issue so far. I read it this morning. It's really interesting because you see that some empire who's in control of the galaxy at the time. I can't remember what it's called, but they try and I think they worship the dark side or stuff like that. I might be getting them confused there, but they try and go to this. They try and find the Jedi on Tython, and there's also one Jedi who is a Sith, but not a member of the Sith Order, a member of the Sith species, because Sith were a species of alien from the planet Korriban.
Oh, okay.
Way before the Jedi even existed, but they only became the Sith Order when people of the Sith species began to split off from the Jedi and became like dark Jedi, and that's how the Sith Order was created. And there is someone who is a Sith in the very first issue of the comic, who's a member of the Jedi, and he's involved with a few other young characters with this empire. And there's a character called I think he's called Zesh or something like that. He's included in thumbnail for this video, okay. Who is sort of hunting down the Jedi, which is a really interesting thing. But that's sort of going on a tangent. But sort of, yeah, the planet Tython, these Thoyar, these pyramids, collecting Force sensitives from all over the galaxy, bringing them to Tython to begin the Jedi. It's basically the origins in Legends, and I think if they adapt that, from what I've read so far of the comics and from what I've learned from like different YouTube videos and stuff, I think that could be really interesting. And I think James Mangold's a perfect guy to do it.
Oh, 100%. So who created those pyramids?
It's unknown.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
it's completely unknown, but I would have thought that they just came from the Force, but they looked too well designed and too sort of like they were put there on purpose to be there just from the Force. But then again, the Force is very powerful. So, but yeah, they just seem to appear from nowhere.
Could it be the Wills?
It could be, very well could be.
Or I forget the beast, the Bantu or the Bantu, like from Rebels, the big it come it capitalized both the dark side and the light. I don't know. But that's interesting, and I think that ties into the biblical aspect too, right? Like origin of it. Here's an interesting question: what parts of that story arc makes the origin worthwhile of telling a Star Wars story? Like, like how does that connect with the deeper messages of what Star Wars is about, in your opinion?
Oh, that's a tough question. I think that there was one panel that really stood out to me in the comic in the first issue with an older member of the Jedi talking to two young children and talking about someone who I think it was someone who attacked the Jedi a number of years earlier. And the kid said, "Oh, I hate this person." And then the other kid said, "Oh, no, you shouldn't hate. That's bad." And then the guy was like, "No, you need to have a bit of that. You need to have balance. If you have too much, if you have only hate and only anger, then that's bad. But if you have them in balance with the light side, that's what needs to be, to keep the Force in balance." So I think it's going to delve deeper than any other Star Wars film in terms of like the meaning of the Force and the meaning of keep it in balance, because we've just been told before, and the Jedi are there to bring, the chosen one, Anakin, was there to bring balance to the Force. The Jedi want to bring balance, but they did not at all. They wanted to completely eradicate. Yeah. So I think it's gonna go into the deeper meanings of what is the Force, and because they said it's going to be quite biblical, it's going to sort of have quite religious themes, which is definitely the right way to go with it. Yeah, but comparing it to the other Star Wars films, it's definitely going to go deeper into what it means to have true balance in the Force.
And also, I apologize, guys. My phone is about to die, so I'm plugging in my charger, and we're good now. But so I think also, okay, so that's good. So it's more. Do you think it would be more of a philosophical film? Because the way I also look at it is, the Jedi failed. Not like the Jedi Order you're talking about, but like the Jedi that we know and love, Yoda, prequels. They failed. I mean, they even failed in the sequel trilogy. They And I feel like a large part of that is that religious fervor, right? That religious, energy. Even Luke said it's a religion, it's not the Force. To say the Jedi or the Force is arrogant, like it's a religion, it interprets it in one way. So do you feel like the fact that you have different people from all over the galaxy coming together for one cause, do you feel like a common theme will be of uniting people, of people coming from different backgrounds to build up one common community? And the way I look at it is, especially like America, right? We're worldwide. We're from all over the world, Asia, Ukraine, Africa, Japan, whatever. We come in America to help our local community. Do you feel like that could be a major heartbeat, a major theme that we see in this story?
I think so, definitely, because in the Dawn of the Jedi comic, there is literally so many different types of species. Like there's Wookiees, like lots of Wookiees.
Like Wookiee Jedi?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so powered, dude. Oh man, that is sick.
There's people called Dai Bendu, who have that. I know they have a lot of history in Star Wars, but I'm not too clued up on that, I'm afraid. Again, as I said before, the Sith species, which that's really interesting to dive into. But yeah, look, like loads of different types of species, and that'll be there is themes in society today that you can link that to make it mean a bit more.
Mm-hmm. And that's Star Wars, right? Like George Lucas looked at the Cold War, he looked at the Gulf War, he looked at World War II for a lot of inspiration in his movies. So that ties. So like that could be the Jedi, like, you know, maybe coming together, maybe the galaxy is lacking of resources, maybe there's a lot of turmoil. I'm a big history buff, so you know, like the Qin dynasty in China, it was like a period of warring states where there are little, you know, dynasties, little like kingdoms in contemporary China that was all united under the Qing dynasty. And that peace came after a period of warring. So to kind of bring that analogy here, that is something I could see, like a period of warring states. My question to you is, how does the Sith play in? Because it's a bit different, right? Like
Mhm.
they're aliens, they're their own culture, they're their own ethnicity, really. And I would be very surprised if the, you know, James Mangold and Disney decided to just, hey, this whole ethnicity of, you know, space civilization, they're just evil, like we see in the contemporary Sith, right? Like there is a distinction between the Sith religion versus the Sith people.
Mhm.
So my question to you is like, what is the difference? Where did that change? How would they tie into this movie if you had to guess? And what would be their motivations? How would that, you know, all fit in?
So I don't, if they stick with what happened in Legends, I don't think we'll see the Sith as the Sith Order in this film, because the Sith Order, I don't think it came about until the Jedi sort of were no more, and it was just the Jedi as we know it, basically, and they spun off from like Dark Jedi. So I don't think we'll see the Sith as the Sith Order. But you talked about like war, then elements of war being in it. In our little break that the people who are listening won't have seen, due to my amazing editing. Um, I just did a bit of research um about the war that's going on in the Dawn of the Jedi comic, and it's called the Force War, basically. So the Empire, who I was trying to remember the name of before, is called the Infinite Empire,
Okay.
and um, they're basically the Infinite Empire is controlled by a species called the Rakata, and they've conquered half of this Tython system. But the main planet Tython is still under Jedi rule, basically. Um,
Okay.
so there, I think it depends how close they want to stick to Legends, basically. If they take a lot of inspiration from this comic, which by the way, I need to mention the writers of this. The writer was John Ostrander, penciler John De Samer, inker Dan Parsons, letterer Michael Hazler, colorist Wes Zioba. Don't know how you say it. Cover artist David Michael Beck, editor Randy Stradley. Just thought I'd give a mention to them as we're going so deep into this sort of period. But the Rakata, they use dark side weapons basically. So we will be seeing a dark side if they choose to go down this route. We will be seeing a dark side villain, but without it being a Sith, which I think is really interesting. Because that hasn't. Well,
Never happened.
yeah, Kylo kind of, but he's a wannabe Sith, isn't he? So,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
You
and
fanboy.
yeah, and these dark side weapons that the Rakata use are called Force sabers. So kind of similar to lightsabers, basically. In Legends continuity, again, they'll probably adapt this for what they want to do, because in canon we know that early Jedi used proto sabers, which had a battery pack, which are a bit different to these. Um, but like these crystals that they use in these four sabers, which came about years before lightsabers, were very similar to the Sith ones, with them having synthetic crystals, like crystals developed in the lab rather than kyber crystals. Um,
Okay.
that's going on a bit of a tangent, but
No, no, it's cool though. It's all cool stuff, bro. I don't know half of this, so this is dope.
um, so Yeah, it's basically gonna. I think if they adapt this, the enemies will be the Rakata species and of the Infinite Empire, and we'll sort of see this Force war that goes on in the comics. But it depends with how, if they want to show the origins of the Sith Order as well. I think there'd have to be a huge time jump. I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly how many years, but I think it's a few thousand years.
Oh wow.
Good few thousand years, because they come from the Jedi, not the Jedi. I'm pretty sure. So, and I don't see them doing something that ambitious really in the first film. If it's good and they get a sequel, I could see them doing another one about the origins of the Sith and sort of how they were cast out from the Jedi because the Dark Jedi were bringing the Force out of balance or using too, or the Jedi, you know, became a bit arrogant and thought, oh, we only want to use the light side. But I don't see the Sith as the Sith Order playing a role in this film. But as you said, we will see the species.
So okay. So this is interesting because one complaint I've had with Star Wars and I've talked to a lot about is the over reliance on light side versus dark side, Jedi versus Sith. Oh my God, he's gonna turn. Oh my God, he's gonna turn. It's like a pro wrestling angle. Like, oh, is John Cena gonna turn heel? Oh, is Roman Reigns gonna turn heel finally? Like, like there's like an element of repetitive story arcs and it's been kind of, not to hate because I love Star Wars way more than I do Harry Potter, but kind of becomes bland at times, like, oh, another Jedi, another Sith. Like, you can only make it interesting so much. But this is interesting because you have people combined by war, by lack of resources, by not having a home, by literally wanting a rooftop over your head. And the fact that the Jedi are there not for religious fervor like we've seen in the prequels, but literally to serve the people, to protect the people against an oppressive force. This is literally like Game of Thrones or Gladiator meets Star Wars, is it not?
Yes, absolutely.
So this is like the perfect way to kind of rebrand the Star Wars brand in a way, don't you think?
Because in the prequels, I absolutely love the prequels. I grew up with them. I think they're great. Or maybe not great, but good, really good.
Heartwarming.
Yeah, yeah, really enjoyable films. The annoying thing is the Jedi are just slaves of the Republic, and this is really seeing the Jedi or the Jedi, but they're still basically Jedi in their prime and proper being what they were intended, what the Force intended them to be, basically, before they sort of turned into the Jedi and became a bit arrogant. So it's maybe not the prime, but it's seeing them go through what the Force intended them to be, maybe what the Wills intended them to be, which is great because we've seen them be slaves to the Republic, then we've seen them be in hiding. We haven't seen them in like this before.
So are they willing to use lethal force?
I'm not sure. I haven't finished the comic series yet, but I think a few of them seem like they'd be willing to. And what's really interesting is there's a young, I can't remember the name, but there's a young girl who's part of the Jedi who is also part of royalty on the planet Ryloth. So she's like a Twi'lek, basically, a species who we've seen countless times in Star Wars, and her father is like the royalty on this planet and wants her to sort of take her role as a leader of this planet, and she chooses to follow the Force, follow what the Force is telling her to do, and abandon that path. I can't remember where I was going with that.
No, but that's cool though, because I feel like this will touch a lot more on like the darker aspects of the galaxy and how the Jedi will bring hope to it in a way that hasn't been done before. Like I'm getting a gritty gladiator, like apocalypto type of feel from this movie. Is that something that we should expect, or is that something as fans like we're just jumping the gun? Like we don't. When is this movie coming out?
That is a very good question. I'll Google that right now.
Because I don't think it's going to be out anytime soon. I think it's like 4 or 5 years away.
Well, they said the Dave Filoni Mando film might be like 6 or 7 years away.
Okay.
So 2 days ago, Collider reported the James Mangold Star Wars film is operating under the code name Star Wars Zero.
Okay.
I like that. That's pretty cool.
I love that. Yeah, that's pretty hard, bro.
Set in the earliest era, yeah. Release date.
If I had to guess,
they've not. I don't think they've actually given a window yet. Oh wait, okay. Lucasfilm confirmed it's aiming for December 2025. Apparently.
2025 is loaded for movies, bro. We got Superman, we got the Batman Part 2, and we got 2020. It's Fantastic Four. Like, bro, 2025, you don't want to miss. Like, wow, okay, very excited. So, also, quick question: are different lightsaber colors a thing in this era, or no?
No, because this is before. If this is what they choose, if they choose to adapt the Dawn of the Jedi story, lightsabers themselves weren't a thing.
Okay.
They didn't become a thing until a few thousand years later, I think. But yeah, the kyber crystals, the lightsabers, they weren't a thing at this time. If this is what they choose to adapt,
should they? Here's a question, because I think a lot of Star Wars fans online, they have this concept of Disney needs to adapt to the pre-canon before they bought them, and I kind of see some of it. I kind of don't. I guess I'm like the 45% adapt it, 55% do your own thing. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
But bro, Star Wars, this is your bread and butter. Should they adapt it to a T for this story? What are some key areas you think that they should have more creative liberty with?
I think they should definitely take some inspiration from it, because it is really interesting and it is so different to anything we've seen before in Star Wars on the big screen. But I do want them to sort of change it up as well. Because James Mangold is a brilliant filmmaker. It's fantastic. I trust him to sort of take inspiration from it, but put his own twist on it, because they have to. If they're adapted, they have to do something new with it. Otherwise, we're going to know everything that's coming.
Right.
Yeah. So, what was your question again?
What are some areas of that story arc that you could see them change up a bit, that they don't have to adapt 100%?
So maybe probably the whole thing surrounding the difficulty of getting to the planet Tython and how sort of volatile the planet is. Because we saw Mando, we saw the Empire, and we saw Boba Fett get there really, really easily in episode, was it 13?
5. Sorry, 13.
Oh, so it's like episode 5, chapter 30, but or 14. One of them. It was the third to last episode of season 2. They get there really easy. The planet is looks quite peaceful, but in this story, it's a bit chaotic. So I'd probably see them adapt that to make it fit more with how they've already established Tython in the canon. But something I'd like to see them keep is that the Thoyar, those pyramid spaceship things, going around collecting people from all over the galaxy, bringing them all to Tython. I think that's really cool.
I can already picture the cinematography. Like, for whatever reason, I'm thinking like ancient Egypt vibes with religion, flute music, and the sun, maybe an eclipse cinematography. Like, bro, and James Mangold cooks. Like, Logan, he's about to get Swamp Thing. Before both of them, the Wolverine was a really like it was a if you like Wolverine, check out the Wolverine. That was so fun. I really enjoyed that. So James Mangold is about to cook. We're about to cook. You cooked right now, educating me. What do you say to those though, especially the fringe on YouTube, especially with the thumbnails, who are hell bent on obsessing with the fact that Kathleen Kennedy is killing Star Wars? Is that accurate in your opinion? Is there an element of truth to maybe she was unprepared at first? Is that just hating on women? Like where is that discourse? Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not even sure.
Well, I think a lot of these I'm gonna say a word for you, but I'm gonna bleep this because yeah, a lot of these online, right? I know it's not that for the people listening. That wasn't a swear word, but it's just not a very nice way to describe them. They I'm gonna bleep this as well. They just need to but in a I'll stop saying that.
I know what you mean. They
You know
have
what I mean?
they have no play. Yes.
Yeah. They have no riz, as the kids say.
Yes, they have no risk.
A lot of them probably don't even know Kathleen Kennedy has been involved with Lucasfilm for decades.
Okay.
Well before Lucasfilm was bought by Disney. She worked on the Indiana Jones films. Like she was working like right alongside George Lucas for years. She knows George Lucas probably better than anybody who's currently working on Star Wars. Dave Filoni probably a very, very close second, but he only began working with them in like the mid 2000s.
Okay.
So she definitely knows out of everyone currently in Star Wars, she knows George Lucas better than anyone. And I think this is getting a bit into the sort of argumentative side of Star Wars, but they do just put the blame on her because she's a successful woman, I think.
Okay.
And she might be at fault for a few of the issues, sure, but it's completely unfair to say she's ruining Star Wars. It's not her fault Disney bought Lucasfilm and decided to rush out all these movies straight away. But you know, she's sort of the big boss at the moment, and it's under her that I've become the most excited I've ever been about Star Wars. Because you know, I was 4 years old when Revenge of the Sith came out, so obviously I didn't know what was going on then, so I couldn't be excited for them as they were coming out. And then, you know, I was excited when the sequel trilogy started, but now I've read all the comics, I've gone back and watched all the shows. This is the most excited I've ever been about Star Wars in my life. And with her, she's the boss of it, so she's obviously doing something right.
Yeah, I agree. I think a large part of the discourse is my story isn't adapted, so therefore the entire saga sucks. Yeah. And that's just such an unhealthy way to enjoy media, because at the end of the day, what got me into Star Wars, bro, was the lightsaber duels. It was cool. It was, oh, that's awesome. And then the other and the stuff around that just made me entice more into the characters, but definitely that toyetic, that's what got me into it, So, yeah, like the lightsaber, yeah. I think like a lot of the Catholic. Oh yeah, yep. There we go, the Force, bro. Like I love it, and I think there's stuff, yeah, like Kathleen Kennedy maybe could have done more research 100% with the sequel trilogy, 100%, yeah. But again, like, and not to be a a corporate footlicker, because to be clear, there's a lot of Star Wars stuff I'm not a fan of, like The Last Jedi. I don't like that film, but ironically, it has one of the coolest scenes, which is my background. I don't like that film, but she has given us really cool characters like Rey, Kylo. Like the stage is set for Finn potentially if they do right by John Boyega. Like there's a lot of cool stuff that she has done, and as fans, people give us the entertainment. So if it's something we don't like The Last Jedi, we can be cordial about it, but they don't have to make these movies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, let's have some class and decorum, man. And that's just, we'll get into that a little later, but I'm excited, bro, because I wasn't too excited for this the Dawn of the Jedi or like movie, and now you broke it down for me. Now it's like potentially even more higher up than the Rey movie. But before we get there, we got the Mando-Verse film. That's what they're calling it, Dave Filoni film.
Yes.
So what's happening there?
So this is something, by the way, I called this 3 years ago in 2020. I wish we were doing this podcast back then, so it was on video. But when Mando season 2 was out, I was watching it. I said to Nicole, my girlfriend, I can see them, culminating this in like a massive film, to end the whole Mandalorian story. So there's not a lot of obviously there's not a lot of details about it yet. We said it's coming out in about 6 or 7 years, but okay. I think it's from what I said in a previous episode about a big battle for Mandalore. I don't think it will be that. Maybe I could see it maybe having something to do with that, but with it being so many years away, and it looks like that's going to happen quite soon in the show. I think it's going to be more. It's going to maybe combine the story of Ahsoka into it as well.
Okay.
And because it looks like Ahsoka's going to be adapting Heir to the Empire, which holy shit.
yeah, bro. So excited for that.
So I think it's going to sort of combine those two stories a bit. Also, story of like what happened with Ezra and Thrawn, Star Wars Rebels. And I think it's going to probably go quite deep into the origins of the First Order, which is my theory. Because if you look closely in Mandalorian and you listen closely to things that they say and link that to what we know about the wider Star Wars universe, Thrawn and Moff Gideon and their whole sort of circle of Imperials who've remained sort of in hiding, it does seem like they are building a First Order, and like what Thrawn did in Heir to the Empire, he had like sort of a fleet in far off space. We'll probably see that in the Ahsoka show, but we might also see him developing the fleet on what was that planet in Rise of Skywalker?
Exegol.
Yeah, we might see parts of that, but I think that this Mando-Verse movie, it'll involve a lot of obviously a lot of Mandalorian stuff taking place on Mandalore, with all the Mandalorians coming together, fighting together, I think, against sort of something that's in between the Empire and the First Order.
Okay.
Possibly. And I think Snoke will be in that film.
Do you think the original trilogy characters will be in that film somehow, some way?
Well, I'd like to see them in that, but I'd like to see them recast. I don't want to see them as like CGI characters for the whole film. It's okay for like 5 to 10 minutes in one episode of a show, but I'd like to see them recast. I'd like to see what's his face from Solo. I'm crap with names.
Alden something.
Yeah, Alden. Oh yeah, his second name is quite hard to pronounce, I think.
Yeah. He was great.
Yeah, he was really good. He was really good. So in the for people who don't know, in the Heir to the Empire book and graphic novel, I read the graphic novel. Because it was in the library that I used to go to when I was a kid. So I just picked it up one day and was like, oh, this is amazing. But in that story, the sort of original trio of Han, Leia, and Luke, they play a big role in it. Like they are very much a big part of that story. So it depends how closely they adapt it. But I'd like to see them in it, and I'd like to see them recast. And I think that's okay, because even though it's the Mandalorian started it, it's not just Din Djarin's story anymore. It is the story of how the First Order began. It is about Thrawn. It is about Mandalore as a whole. It's about Ahsoka. So I don't mind them bringing in these other characters, because it is about so much more than just Din Djarin now.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, they could. I would still like for him to be the main character because it'd be cool to see his perspective about the Force and the First Order or the Proto Order and Luke and Leia and Han from his perspective. So like he could be our perspective because we've always followed Luke's perspective, Leia's perspective, Han.
Yeah,
So to
yeah,
see those same characters but from an outside perspective like Din and also give him cool kick-ass Mandalorian action sequences like with the flying birds, the flying arrows, like the missiles or like the Beskar spear and have him lead the charge, like that would be super dope. And also that a lot of people, not to jump ahead too much, but a lot of people are really pushing for the original trilogy characters to show up in the Rey Skywalker movie. But this is an opportunity to satiate that because it makes sense for those original trilogy characters to help Mando and Mandalore against the Proto Empire. It makes sense for them to help Grogu, against them because they're in their primes now.
yeah.
They're like what, 30, 35 years old. Why would they not be involved if the galaxy's being risen up?
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe you have, Leia not play a huge part in it. Maybe she's expecting Kylo. Like there's a lot that you can do. But then again, that'd be kind of a sexist decision, no? Like if she's just not no, never mind. Scratch that. But maybe have Carrie Fisher's daughter play
Yeah,
Leia.
absolutely. Yeah.
Have Alden Ironark. I'm so sorry for butchering your name, man. My name is Zanuddin, so I should know better. But I should know better. I apologize. But he was great. And then maybe Sebastian Stan for Luke Skywalker. He looks just like him. Or the stand-in stunt double who
Yeah,
played Luke.
he looked really good as well. Yeah.
Just do it, bro. Do it. And you also bless the industry by giving a new up-and-coming actor a huge role and having him flourish in it.
Mhm.
So I feel like instead of having them show up in the future where the past should be the past, have them here. It makes sense narratively here. And while we don't know a lot of the story right now, it's just pretty much you're saying a culmination of the Mandalorian, of Ahsoka, of Rebels, of Thrawn. So it's pretty much heir to the Empire, but with a lot of stuff, taken out and reformatted. Is that what you're?
That's what I think. Yeah, because the way the story of the Mandalorian, the show is going in terms of them taking back Mandalore, that seems like it's coming a lot sooner than 6 or 7 years away.
Okay.
And I think that needs to be paid off in the show because you can't trust that everyone who's been watching, casual fans who will just started watching The Mandalorian when it came out, you can't trust that if they're going to go and watch this film, if the story of the story of this show on its own was to fully pay off in that. So I think the story of them taking back Mandalore needs to pay off in the show, but they obviously they'll play a huge part because Moff Gideon has who is spoils the most recent episode of Mandalorian. He has a huge empire base hidden beneath the surface of Mandalore.
Okay.
So he obviously has ties to that, and his people he's working with are helped helping Thrawn sort of come back from the far reaches of space, basically.
So explain to people who Thrawn is. Like, why should we care? Essentially, if you don't know Star Wars, why should we care about the Empire? What is Heir to the Empire? How does Thrawn tie into it? And how is Thrawn a menacing villain for Din and our heroes?
Well, there's two origins for Thrawn. There's with everything Star Wars nowadays is canon and legends. His legend story, I think, is really interesting and something. Are you familiar with his legends origin?
No.
Okay,
I just read the books, but
you'll be
they
a
don't.
big fan. You'll be a big fan. So,
Okay.
Someone who you think should be sort of the main villain in upcoming Star Wars films, the Yuzon Vong.
Mm-hmm.
They tie into it. Okay.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so basically, Thrawn is a chiss. I thought that's the name of the species. I can't remember the name of the planet they're from, but so he is like an absolute genius, and his species are all peaceful, and they they're okay to engage in war, but only if it's reactive. They don't like taking sort of the first attack in like a battle. And he's like an absolute genius. He with strategy, tactics, all things like that. And he met with Palpatine somehow because both of them sensed this threat in the far reaches of space, like this terrible, terrible threat that could destroy everything they knew, which was the Yuzon Vong. And I think it was the Jedi or the Republic at the time. They sent this, like, they had this spaceship and they sent people on this mission to try and find them, basically. And Palpatine and Thrawn were speaking together. This is Legends, by the way. Were speaking together and said, like, we can't be having that because that will lead the Yuzon Vong here. So Thrawn sabotaged that mission. Like, I think everyone on that mission died, and his people cast him out. Like, he disappeared. Again, I've said this phrase so many times in this episode. They cast him out into far reaches of space.
Okay.
And then he returned many years later, after Palpatine had, after the Empire had took over, and him and Palpatine's paths crossed again, and Palpatine remembered what he did, and gave him, a role in the Imperial Navy, worked his way up to become Grand Admiral. I think he's the only person in the Empire to have the title of Grand Admiral. Just touching on his genius and his like strategic intellect. I think there's one case in Legends of him defeating like a whole fleet or something without even firing any missiles or anything.
That was in the book.
Yeah.
Yep. He did a whole fleet by just tricking them.
Mm-hmm.
And he did it by observing their architecture and music.
Yeah, he can tell everything about the emotions and the way a type of species think by looking at their culture. Like, that's how terrifying he is. He can fight, but he doesn't need to because he's so clever and strategic that he can defeat anyone without moving a muscle, basically, with just his strategy. Which is what makes him so terrifying. In canon, it's similar. It's not as cool. His path crosses with Anakin, basically, at some point in the Clone Wars, and a similar story. He gets exiled, and then he comes back when the Empire took over, and he's fighting alongside Darth Vader, and just from fighting alongside him, he works out that that's Anakin.
Oh, wow.
But he doesn't tell Darth Vader. He's like, oh, I know that's Anakin. And basically, he is, when the Empire falls, after he, gets thrown, after Emperor gets thrown down that shaft, everything, Death Star blowing up again, Thrawn starts acting, we kind of see a bit of this in Rebels. Begins to act on like the Emperor's contingency plan and create the First Order. That's what we see happening from the little hints we've got in Mandalorian. So yeah, the Legends story is a lot cooler, but why people should be afraid of him? He is he's terrifying because he can defeat, as I said before, anyone with just his intellect and his strategic knowledge.
So he's like a sane Lex Luthor Riddler.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And so that would probably like anger, like, because it did in the novels, but it would probably anger Luke, Leia, and Han. Like, we can't, like, at least with Vader, you have to overpower him. With Thrawn, you can't even do that because he has a plan for a plan for a plan. Is he smarter than Palpatine?
Oh, I think so.
So is that why Palpatine never killed him? Because he was like, I could, but I could also use him.
Yeah. It's like, if I die, he's the only person who could make this contingency plan work.
Okay.
And I think tying Thrawn into the creation of the First Order is an absolute genius move.
So would Thrawn have to like so I guess like Thrawn as an individual, is he like a psychopath? Is he more of a logical rationale, like, hey, the dark side is stronger. I'm not force sensitive myself, but it is stronger, so I'm gonna be with them. Like where would you think Thrawn's characterization would be in this Dave Filoni verse?
I think I think the second point you said there about him being just so smart and so clever, he realizes that maybe the dark side is stronger.
So like Thrawn seems horrifying, and he was very intimidating. He was like this Weasley intelligent little bastard in the book, and I loved him, but also hand to hand, he will also murder you. Like he can fight. If you watch Rebels, didn't he like destroy a bunch of drones with his bare hands and while he was just practicing Tai Chi or something like that?
Yeah,
Like
he's a badass.
yeah, like he's a tank, an intelligent tank.
Mm.
Um this is exciting. Like, and the fact that Thrawn kind of ties into the Mando-Verse. They're talking about like, their hints at the Praetorian Guard. If you didn't see the last episode, from The Last Jedi, these guys right there. Also a lot of the cloning tech. So they're definitely creating an origin for Palpatine returning. Somehow Palpatine returned. But that's kind of where they're going for it. And I'm down with that, man. Whatever you can to make the franchise more whole, I'm all for it. I'm not trying to be toxic. Um, what do you think is how does Ahsoka, that TV show, because that's a big part of this Mandalorian film. And with that also, when can we even expect this Mando film?
Yeah, so Dave Filoni said about 6, 7 years down the line.
Okay. Wow.
Which I'm quite happy with because again, as I said in our previous Star Wars episode a couple of weeks ago, when Disney bought Star Wars, they rushed into making a trilogy, and the first film came out, I think, 2 years after they bought the rights. So to see them really taking the time with it, building up to it properly through the shows, I'm happy with that. I don't mind waiting that long because the build up to it properly, and the build up itself is so enjoyable.
Mm. Okay. And so 6, 7 years away then, do you think that like so how does Ahsoka the TV show, like how does that tie into everything?
Okay, so did you watch Rebels?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so at the end of Rebels, Ezra has he's got these like whale hyperspace creatures. They go off and they take him and Thrawn to far reaches of space. I've said that so many times this episode.
Far East. Hey, I mean, it's like your background though.
Yeah. um, so Ahsoka and Sabine. Sabine's a character I'm really excited to see in live action.
Mm.
And Hera Syndulla, and hopefully
Mm.
Chopper the droid as well. I really hope he appears. He has a big role. So he has a big role. He's a droid. What am I on about? So they're going to be searching for Ezra and Thrawn. So that's how that's going to. And we know Thrawn's working with, or will be working with this sort of group of Imperials that Mando encountered through Moff Gideon, or is encountering through Moff Gideon in this season. So that's how it links sort of to the main story of Mando, and there's another element to Ahsoka as well, which I'd like to touch on quickly, is the sort of dark Jedi type people with like the orange lightsabers.
How did they tie in?
So I think I might be mistaken here. Did Thrawn have some sort of dark Jedi type person working for him in the novels? So I haven't read the novels, so everything I know
He
from
was, if I'm not mistaken, he was working close with Joruus Sabiath. And for those who don't know who he is, essentially Joruus Sabiath, he was like this scholar Jedi during the Clone Wars era, and then he went to the far reaches of space. So he missed a lot. He missed everything. He missed the Empire's rise and fall. He missed Order 66. He missed it all. He was completely oblivious because he was losing his mind, like being so disconnected from civilization, from other people, just studying the Force, he literally became insane. And there was like an element of, not to tie Marvel into it, but if you read Ultimate Comics, the Fantastic Four, what happened to Reed Richards, he was so connected to science that he became disconnected to his humanity, and he became the Maker, and he became this huge Marvel villain. Check him out, it's fantastic. It's very similar to Jorah Sabaoth. He became so disconnected from his humanity that he developed a lot of dark side powers, but he could care less about the Sith and the Jedi. He was insane. So I think like Joker meets dark side. That's him.
Okay.
Well, with Palpatine, there was an element of religious fervor where he believed in the Sith. Jorah Sabaoth was like, I don't care. Like, lightning goes burnt. Like that was his energy, you know, like that was his energy. So, yeah, he was working with Thrawn, but Thrawn knew he was not to be like. Even Thrawn was like, I'm gonna interact with him from a distance. Like,
Okay.
even Thrawn did not want to mess with this dude. Luke Skywalker had to duel with his duel with Jorah Sabaoth was the toughest duel he's ever had. And keep in mind, Luke in Legends was more overpowered than Goku and Superman. So like that should show you how intense that was. I mean, Luke defeated a reanimated Palpatine in a younger clone body and beat him. Jorah Sabaoth was a lot tougher than that. So that is the level of that character. To answer your question.
So I think that these characters, these Dark Jedi with the orange lightsabers, I'll touch on what the orange lightsabers might mean in a second, because I've done my research, got a bit of information for that, and I've got my own theories as well.
Okay.
I think they're going to be, at least the older guy, the older man who is called Baylan Skoll, I believe. I think that's how you say it. I think he's going to be sort of the canon version of that character.
Okay.
But the girl who has the orange lightsaber, Shin Hati, I think that's how you say it, Haiti, something like that. If you look closer, she's got a braid, like a Padawan braid, coming from her hair. So that's why I think they are like a type of dark Jedi, and I think it's pretty certain they're working for Thrawn and they're taking inspiration from the Legends Thrawn novels. Yeah, I think that's the point I was trying to make there.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll touch quickly on the orange lightsabers.
Yeah.
So it's also kind of an homage to the original Star Wars poster where Darth Vader's lightsaber looked a bit orange, which is pretty cool. Yeah. I saw someone saying that I think the lightsaber held by Shin, the young girl in the trailer, looks similar to the lightsaber of Kanan Jarrus from Rebels.
Yeah.
So could it be that? But how do you get orange lightsabers? Because it's not one of the standard colors, basically. I'll start off. I'll just go through the other colors. Say what all the colors mean, so we can really try and understand why the orange lightsaber is so unique, basically. So.
Okay. So it's unique.
Yeah, it's very unique.
Okay.
So the most common lightsaber of all, of course, blue. Blue lightsabers are said to represent righteousness and bravery, mostly by association with what the Jedi stand for. They use a strong spiritual alignment with their kyber crystal.
Okay.
It's basically a strong connection to the Force. Green is closely associated with attributes of harmony, helpfulness, cooperation, spirituality, and demonstrable goodwill. It tends to be used by more like wiser Jedi, basically. In the expanded universe, they designated what's called the Jedi Consular, but that hasn't been continued over to canon. And that was someone who was more devoted to the mental aspects of the Force rather than lightsaber combat.
Okay.
This article, by the way, from Screen Rant, written by Adrienne Tyler. I'll put the link of it in the description. It's so informative about all different lightsaber colors. The purple lightsaber, I think everyone knows what this is. It's sort of Mace Windu uses a bit of dark side energy in his lightsaber combat. So, mix of red and blue. Yellow lightsabers. The only time we've really seen them besides Rey's lightsaber is sort of the Jedi Temple guards. Although Ahsoka, when she had the two lightsabers, one of them was kind of like yellowish, and
Okay.
Asajj Ventress also had a yellow lightsaber.
Is this gold or yellow?
Um, it's yellow, but I think because she's on Tatooine, it sort of makes it look a bit different.
Okay, all right, okay.
But it's mostly known for being used by the Jedi Temple guards. And in the expanded universe, the ancient Jedi Jaden Core purified a red lightsaber crystal, and that turned it yellow.
Okay.
But one of the first, one of the most well-known first appearances of it was in the 2000 PS1 game Jedi Power Battles, which included Plo Koon using a yellow lightsaber.
Yeah, yep.
White lightsabers is sort of the canon version of a bled red lightsaber, basically. So Ahsoka's two white lightsabers, lightsabers she took from she took the kyber crystals from the sixth brother, who was an inquisitor, and she bled those crystals. They became white, basically. So that's what the white lightsabers mean. That's the canon version of a red lightsaber that's been bled. Like the dark side's been bled out of it.
So is red unnatural then?
Yes. So red is not a naturally occurring lightsaber color. The way what Sith do is they are similar to the Force sabers from the Dawn of the Jedi comics. They are red lightsabers are normally synthetic crystals, but most commonly they, as part of a Sith sort of training or initiation to becoming a true Sith Lord, they have to kill a Jedi, take their kyber crystal, bleed all their dark side energy into it, and that turns it red.
Oh wow, okay.
But Kylo Ren has a red lightsaber, but the blade's unstable. And not a lot of people know this, but the sort of crossguard bit of his lightsaber, that's not just because it looks cool. When he was bleeding his dark side energy into his kyber crystal, because he wasn't he was conflicted. It caused the kyber crystal to crack, and it made the lightsaber unstable. And the little bit that makes the crossguards actually exhaust ports, because if it just went through one thing, like his lightsaber would explode, basically.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Kylo has my favorite lightsaber design in all of Star Wars. I love Kylo's.
Yeah, it's yeah. If I could pick one to have in real life, it'd be that one. And then obviously there's the dark saber,
which is Mandalorian in origin, right?
Yeah. So that was introduced by the sort of the Mandalorian Jedi. Something Vizsla. I'm gonna get slayed for not remembering his name.
Pre Vizsla.
It was introduced by him in the show, but he wasn't like the person to. It was someone with the name Vizsla who created it, who was the Jedi.
Okay.
Currently in possession of Bo-Katan.
And that's a flat blade, right? That's the flat blade. That's what makes it unique. It's the fact that it's rounded, it's flat.
Yeah. In the expanded universe, there was loads of other random lightsaber colors. Like there was like gold, silver, bronze, and all stuff like that. But obviously, we haven't seen them in canon yet. But so the orange lightsaber is kind of an anomaly, really. The place where people will have seen it, before the Ahsoka trailer, most probably is the Jedi Fallen Order game. But was just as a pre-order bonus. You don't have to find it on the planet. You get no sort of reasoning for that. But the earliest mention of it in the Star Wars timeline in canon is in this book, Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray. very, very good Star Wars novel. Probably one of the best in terms of like the canon novels that have been released since Disney took over. They so that's about Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, basically, when Obi-Wan's getting trained. And they go to like this planet on like a mission. I can't remember the name of the planet. And they find these orange like kyber crystal type things. And it's got some sort of name in the Star Wars universe, but it's known as Fool's Kyber, basically.
Okay.
And there was a guy who's trying to mine these crystals and sell them to the Jedi, basically.
Okay.
So the people on this planet had used these crystals to create shields, like plasma shield type things that lightsabers could not penetrate.
Okay.
But if you made a lightsaber blade from these crystals, that could penetrate the shield, basically. So I'm just looking at my notes here.
So like a blue lightsaber crystal could not penetrate an orange shield.
No.
But an orange saber could.
Yes.
Okay, that is broken, bro. I need that.
If you use this type of crystal, this like Fool's Kyber, basically.
So even a red lightsaber couldn't cut through it.
No.
Wow. Okay.
So a theory of how these orange kyber crystals links to Ahsoka is the planet Ilum, where all the tradition for Jedi for thousands of generations went to this planet to forge their own lightsaber, find their kyber crystal. But as we know, that planet turned into Starkiller Base. So, and you see that in the Fallen Order game. You see the planet being destroyed by the Empire, and then obviously First Order take it over.
Right.
And obviously Ahsoka takes place before Force Awakens, so the planet is still intact, but it's been mined to hell, basically. So, it's very well possible that they could not go there to these two crystals. These two characters, sorry, Baylan and Shin, could not go there to get kyber crystals for their lightsabers when if they take inspiration from the Thrawn novel, if they come back from again the far reaches of the space, they could not go there to get kyber crystals, so they had to go to this planet, get this Fool's Kyber, these orange crystals. That's how they get their orange lightsabers. That's one theory of how they get them, which I think that's probably the most likely one.
Right.
Actually, there's another user of an orange lightsaber, Yaddle, who I think is Grogu's mum. And
Yaddle had one?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I think that was in Legends. And also Plo Koon in Legends used one as like a secondary lightsaber.
Okay.
So a theory of what it could mean in terms of what's the meaning of having an orange lightsaber, if it was a naturally occurring color, is it's someone who completely doesn't agree with like fighting, is it absolute pacifist, and it's their absolute last resort, basically. That's what like the meaning of it, if you were to put the meanings of all the Star Wars lightsaber colors, that's what it could mean. But I think the theory of the Fool's Kyber being used in the lightsabers in the Ahsoka series, that I think that's probably the most solid. And it is, I do like the idea that it's not a normal lightsaber color, and it's something that doesn't come from a kyber crystal. It comes from these different types of crystals.
That is sweet.
Yeah.
So like pretty much if you were like a Form 3 combat user, right, the defensive form, it would make most sense to have an orange one then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're completely indestructible. Wow. Dang, hey, and that's pretty dope, because not to be on a tangent, but like Mikey from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has an orange, mask, and he's my favorite Ninja Turtle, and this is dope, bro. Like, or I might need a cop an orange lightsaber, bro. I might just have to. Like, the more you know, man.
That's the color I use the most when playing Fallen Order, and I'll probably use it the most in Jedi Survivor.
I might have to run some Fallen Order later tonight, bro. Like now, like bro, this is sweet, man. So okay, so 6 years away, all of this kind of combined into one. So this is pretty much like the Avengers, so to speak, of the Star Wars movies coming out.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'd say that.
okay. So then let's talk about the one that has caused a lot of firestorm online, the Rey Skywalker movie, or what they're calling it, the New Jedi Order, right? So like break that down. What's happening in that film?
So I think that this one might come out even later than the Mando-Verse movie, because again they've not announced like an official window for it.
Yeah.
I
And
think
Grogu would have to be a part of it, right? Like Grogu.
yeah, he'd absolutely have to be a part of it, and it'd be weird uh to see that. Oh, sorry. Comicbook.com report that Lucasfilm want the Rey movie to come out in 2025. Well then.
Wait, so we have the James Mangold movie and that movie coming around the same time?
Possibly about a year or so apart, it looks like.
Okay.
But
Okay.
so if that comes so soon, if Grogu is to appear in it, maybe he doesn't have a huge role. Maybe he appears towards the end. Or they could just have an older version of him appear, because by that time he'll be between like 90 and 100 years old, which is the same age that Yoda became a Jedi Master. So he would be like fully fledged and using the Force by that point.
And he would be like what, comparatively 25, 26 years old, like a human.
Yeah,
So like
pretty much.
yeah, and it depends too, right? Does Grogu become a Mandalorian? Does he become a Jedi? I think it would be pretty dope if he was a Mandalorian and Rey needs more help, right? Like the Jedi aren't enough for something, so she goes to Grogu, and
Maybe
Grogu,
that could be a plot point in that movie.
yeah, and maybe Grogu's like, hey, like I have sympathy for the Jedi, but I have a planet to run. Like I can't just,
Well, touching on like the latest episode of The Mandalorian, in Boba Fett, we saw him choose the Mandalorians over choosing the Jedi way. In the most recent episode, we see sort of the Jedi part of him come out a little bit, I think, because there's one moment where the two Mandalorian clans have come together, and I think it's Paz Vizsla, the big guy,
dude, yeah,
and the guy who like was in charge of Bo-Katan's Mandalorians after she left. I can't remember his name. They're having a fight basically, and it's Mandalorian, so it's a fight to the death. But Grogu's got this new sort of. He's in like an IG unit and he's controlling it.
okay,
And so it's an IG unit with Grogu sort of piloting it, and there's a button for him to say yes, and there's a button for him to say no, like in like this robotic voice. And he comes in between these two people as they're about to kill each other, and just says no, 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 no. So I think that's his Jedi side coming out and wanting to keep peace, which is really interesting. So we're seeing both sides of him. We saw him choose the Mandalorians, but we've also seen his Jedi instincts, is because he knows his with the Force is told him to do that. Probably the Force is telling him to keep people safe. So, we are seeing those Jedi parts of him come out.
A Mandalorian Jedi with the dark saber, bro. Grogu would be a huge addition to the new Jedi Order. If I'm Rey, I'm like, hey, how much money do you need, man?
Yeah.
Like, do you want a new lightsaber? Like Grogu, we need you here. Like, like what do you need? Like, come here, like join us.
It's like Liverpool trying to get Jude Bellingham.
Oh, bro, but they fumbled the bag there, man. Like, there, bro. But that's a whole other, like, we'll get into that. But like, okay, so what the new Jedi Order, right? This is the movie I'm most excited for. And also I'm Pakistani. Sharmeen Obed-Chinoy, she's directing. She's also Pakistani, so very, very excited about that. We're getting Rey back. Rey is a character that's hated online. I'm not a big fan of the movies, but I think Rey is a strong part of those movies. I think if there's one good thing about him, it's probably her and Kylo, you know? So I have no problem with her being the Superman of the franchise. Hell yeah. Like, this is dope. I'm so excited. But what should we expect? Like, is this going to be a trilogy of movies? Is it going to be just one movie right now? The story arc? What should we expect?
So they've announced just one for now, but I think that's because the sequel trilogy. I don't think it's wrong to say it was a bit of a disaster.
I agree.
So it's good to see sort of the learning from the mistakes. They are just doing standalone films, but with the potential, I think, to move on and become trilogies, or maybe just do however many sequels the story needs. Maybe go away from the trilogy format, which probably wouldn't be a bad idea because that's quite constraining. So you've got to tell this story in these 3 movies rather than starting out on a story and just seeing where it takes you, seeing how many films you need for it.
Right.
Probably a lot easier for the people working on it. So yeah, it's just going to be one film for now, and then if people like the story, if it's a good story, I think they'll do more. I really like how it's taking place 15 years after. So it's really getting away from the events of the sequel trilogy. It is something completely brand new. Yeah, we will see her. We're seeing with this Rey story what I mentioned in our previous Star Wars episode. We're seeing in this story what I wanted to see from a sequel trilogy. We'll probably see the new Republic by that point, or is it just called still the New Republic?
Yeah.
And we're seeing a character build a new Jedi Order from scratch, teaching a new generation of Jedi.
Right.
So this is sort of. I know we complain about people disliking stuff because it's not the story that they wanted. But I'm happy because this is doing what I wanted, so I'm a bit.
This is what I want, man. This is and see, like, I think what I loved about Star Wars growing up was the fact that there wasn't a lot of fan theories or a lot of cameos to expect. It was a brand new world that was being built as you go along, and that fresh aspect of it is what kept you coming for more. So, for example, Avatar: Way of Water. That is my favorite movie right now. Like, my favorite movie tends to change. But right now, like, out of recent movies, my favorite movie was probably The Batman. Then Avatar: Way of Water just blew it out the water. Like, everything was so fresh because not only was it a fresh, human, organic, emotional story, and water, and anybody who knows me knows I freaking love the water. Like, you know, like, I love the ocean. I love swimming. It was the fact that there wasn't any cameos. It was the fact that there wasn't some contrived story arc of, oh, this needs to happen. You were just in for the ride and you don't know what you don't know. And that we need more of that, you know? And Star Wars had that. And I feel like a lot of these content creators, with all due respect, like Star Wars Theory, for example, they kind of focus on the story needs to be from this novel from 1989. Otherwise, it's not Star Wars. And it's like, that restricts so much. Like, Star Wars is more than just rehashing the past. And that is what I'm very excited about for this new movie, because it's getting away from the issue of the sequel movies. Like, bro, I don't like them. They're not great movies. You know what else weren't great movies? The prequels. They were not great movies. The original trilogy weren't great movies, but we love characters and we love the story and we love the world that Star Wars has created. And I think objectively the best movies in Star Wars would probably be Empire Strikes Back, right? Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One, Last Jedi. Like, forget fan theories, just as a film. Like, yeah, Last Jedi. You know, those are the 4 that come to mind. Rogue One, Revenge of the Sith, Last Jedi, Empire Strikes Back. I have a soft spot for Return of the Jedi, simply because it was cool to see Luke on Tatooine with the green lightsaber, you know, destroy everybody. That was awesome. And Luke is Star Wars character. And that's another thing too. Like, Luke is my favorite Star Wars character. Like, that is my guy. I don't like The Last Jedi because of how they treated Luke. I'm not gonna lie. But you know what? Like, it happened. It happened. It sucks. It's tough, but it happened. I'm not gonna ruin Star Wars because they had one misstep, which I will argue that direction was a misstep. Like, if Tobey Maguire and No Way Home was treated the way Luke Skywalker was in The Last Jedi, do you think that movie would be nearly as well received? Like, hell no.
No.
Yeah, hell no. So I do agree with fans when they say they didn't do right by the character Luke Skywalker. And I do agree, maybe it's maybe a conspiracy theorist, but Mark Hamill initially was not a fan of the direction, and then later on he came out and said, yeah, I actually really like it. That Disney check must have been big. I don't blame him. I would have taken that check too. I don't blame him at all. I love Mark Hamill. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, they messed up with Luke Skywalker. Yes, Luke Skywalker probably should have rebuilt the sequel trilogy, the Jedi Order and the sequel trilogy. Yes, I agree with that. But you know what? It happened. It is what it is. And I will give credit to The Last Jedi. They gave the coolest scene in a long, long time when Kylo, because we were all expecting Snoke to see that lightsaber twist. And he didn't. And Kylo took over. Like, and that's what I'm saying. If you had told me before the movie came out, right? Like, let's say I had a beat sheet of events that were happening. And if I saw Luke Skywalker is going to die, the Jedi Order is not rebuilt, the sacred texts are destroyed, Kylo Ren has killed Snoke, he has taken over the First Order, and Rey is a nobody, I would be like, this is the greatest Star Wars movie ever. Like, give me that. Like, that is so cool. It's the implementation I just don't like. I don't like the Canto Bite scene. I think that's stupid. I'm not throwing any hate to Kelly Marie Tran. I think her character sucks. Like, I'm sorry, it is what it is. But you know who else sucked? Jar Jar Binks. But that doesn't mean I'm gonna hate on Ahmed Best. Like,
yeah,
you can dislike characters and be totally humane to the actors. And I feel like a lot of fans don't understand that. Like, to use another pro wrestling, analogy, I hate Roman Reigns. I hate the bloodline. I hate Jey Uso, But after me saying, F you, Roman, I hate you, you know what I'm going to say next? Hey, can I get an autograph? Hey, can I get a selfie? Like, you can disconnect people from the characters that they play. And I feel like people don't do that here. And it's really disappointing because these are people's lives, bro. And Star Wars has an ugly history of fans ruining people's lives over a story about space wizards, bro. Like, come on, man. Like, come on. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Star Wars fans ruined Jake Lloyd's life. Star Wars fans nearly ended Ahmed Best's life, with all due respect. They destroyed Kelly Marie Tran's self-perception. You know what I mean? Like, we have an ugly history of doing this. Let's stop doing this if we don't like a story. Like, I don't like The Last Jedi. I don't. We're going to get in our tier listing. I don't like that film. But you know what I like more? Harassing human beings over a fictional story, bro. Like, let's get past that. It's so, like, come on, bro. Come on. And speaking of Last Jedi, like, this is the opportunity for the sequel trilogy, or for this new movie regarding the sequel trilogy, to rectify a lot of wrongs. You said this in the original Star Wars episode. If Rian Johnson was given 7, 8, 9 all to direct, I don't think the film was going to get nearly as hated because you have an organic character.
Absolutely.
It was just like, you're on a boat and then boom, you're hit with the Titanic, or you're hit with an iceberg being The Last Jedi. Like, it's just different. It just feels disjointed. But as a film on itself, yeah, it's cinema, bro. It is. So I just don't like the character arc. Like, as a Luke Skywalker fan, I'm never gonna like that film. But you know what? That's okay. I have a whole trilogy of Luke Skywalker that I can rewatch. I have Mandalorian season 2, that episode that I can watch. I have Battlefront 2. You've seen me. We've played Battlefront. Everybody would come when we get the capture card. We're gonna do Twitch streams of Battlefront 2, which we call Toxic Front. Watch us. we've destroyed people with Luke Skywalker and Anakin online, bro. Like, so yes, it's tough, but I have the expanded universe. I have the novels. I have the comics. The Charles Soule comics right now are really good. Yes, Luke Skywalker wasn't given the best treatment in The Last Jedi. We all acknowledge that. Let's not do that with other famous characters in the future, And I think this Mando-Verse movie is an opportunity to rectify that. But most importantly, let's focus on Rey. The concept of Rey being born of Palpatine and rejecting her family, rejecting her origin to be something pure and positive and uplift people, how freaking inspiring is that? Like, that's awesome. Like, that is so cool. Do you know how much people with abusive families can relate to that? Do you know people who have, estranged family members? They can relate to that. People who you're not proud of, but you're not tied to them. You can make your own destiny. You can make your own fate. You can still be a positive influence on the world. Your blood does not define you. Like, that is Rey Skywalker's character. if you hate that, you hate media literacy. I'm sorry, you hate women. Like, it is what it is. Like, and yeah, I know the point of people saying like, oh, she didn't earn it. It was too easy. She beat Kylo. Yeah, she did beat Kylo. Kylo was also shot by a bowcaster, and playing Battlefront 2, let me tell you, getting hit by a bowcaster takes 150 health every time. That hurts. Okay. It hurts really bad. Okay.
Yes.
I don't blame him for losing. But let's not act as if Luke Skywalker didn't get that treatment either. You know, let's not act like Anakin Skywalker didn't either. They earned it more, to be sure. So this new movie, she's gonna earn it. 15 years in the game, she's gonna be the Kratos, she's gonna be the Superman, she's gonna be the you know, she's gonna be the Michael Jordan of Jedi. We're gonna see her do some cool stuff, bro. Like, I'm excited for this. She's gonna be the Messi. I would say Cristiano, but he didn't win a World Cup. Messi did. But like, I would say she's gonna be the Messi of the Jedi Order, bro. I'm so excited to see that. The sequels failed, but the characters were awesome. So if you like the characters, which I did, and you like the premise of the sequels, but the execution was bad, this movie is for you. That's why this movie, to me, I'm so excited for it. It's my personal most hype movie. Because Rey is the concept of her coming from a dark family and building something out of it. To me, I think the brilliance still could have been in her being a nobody. I think The Last Jedi got that perfectly, and then they ruined it, and oh my God, why? But you know what? Her being a Palpatine is still an awesome consolation prize. And I'm, like I said, the concept of you coming from you know, a family you might not be proud of and still making your own destiny. You're not tied to anything, you're your own person. That's inspiring as hell, man. And then Kylo in the sequels, I wish he's back. He's probably not going to be back. Adam Driver, also the 65, the Jurassic Future movie that's just come out. That's probably going to be a franchise. So Adam Driver is probably going to be doing more of those movies. So he might not be back. I hope that rumor is wrong, though. I really would love to see him back somehow, some way. Because Kylo Ren is my favorite Star Wars character, and a lot of that is to his acting. I think the writing and the character is well below like Mace Windu or Anakin, but it's just Adam Driver's charisma. And this scene alone, bro, you cannot, as much as I don't like The Last Jedi, you can't tell me, bro, that scene didn't give you goosebumps.
Oh, it was incredible. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like the sequel, Captain Phasma, like a lot of those sequel trilogy characters are so cool. The story just failed them. So again, this new movie, I'm so excited. But there are two things that I want to see in this movie that I'm going to cover. I think one, this new trilogy has a huge responsibility of pushing the franchise forward. So the sequels, what they should have done is set the stage for new story arcs. Unfortunately, it was just disorganized. It is what it is. Let's, you know, like to use the sports analogy, right? We're fans of teams, right? Like soccer, like Liverpool, right? You can't win, you know, the Champions League every year. Liverpool has won the most in England. You can't win it every year, bro. Some seasons it's tough. Let's not talk about them. Same thing with the sequels. Let's stop complaining about it. And a lot of these content creators, bro, be honest. Be honest. You focus on the hate of the sequels, and that makes you money. Be honest about that, bro.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of Star Wars versus are you a fan of money? Be honest about that, bro. And I'm a fan of both, but I'm not going to be disingenuous about it, you know? Like, I'm not going to be you know? Like, I hate Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. We all know that. Like, yeah, if I could monetize that, you better believe I will, you know? Like, but I'll be honest about it. You know, so like a lot of these, oh, I love Star Wars. Do you really want Star Wars to be better? Because if you do get the story arcs that you want, are you going to get the clicks on your YouTube video? Think about that.
There is one name in particular who I think we mentioned. I think we dropped his name previously. Star Wars Theory. He's the worst for that.
Yeah, and I loved his video. Like his theories were so cool. Like, what if Anakin was raised by Mace Windu? They were so cool, bro. I used to like work out in the gym and lift and listen to those theories, bro. Like, yeah, like he made awesome videos and he loves Star Wars. I'm not going to deny that, but bro, you're pushing 30 plus years old, right? And you're going to act like this all the time. Like, I know I'm not making fun, like the Pablo Hidalgo situation. Yeah, that was shady. I'm not going to lie. Like, why are you making fun of somebody who cried about Luke Skywalker returning? Like that sucks. Like, you shouldn't do that. Like, if we're going to mock fans for their emotions, why is No Way Home loved so much? Why is Avengers loved so much? You know, like so that is shady. Lucasfilm executives should not do that. But you know, he has literally monetized his personality trait has been of hating everything Disney. He complained about bricks and bolts being an Andor.
Makes no sense. Even though they explained in the show that the bricks weren't they made from people who like died on the planet or something like that. So when you died, you got made into a brick, and then like they literally gave a reason for it in the show.
And that was horrifying. And that was heartbreaking. Everything you want Star Wars to have in a good antagonist. But you know, again, like these fans, ask yourself, and the audiences who love them, ask yourself, do you guys really want Star Wars to be fixed? Do you guys really want Star Wars to not be woke? I hate that bullshit ass argument. I'm sorry not to swear. I hate that. I hate it when people say, oh, Star Wars is woke. They're forcing diversity. Hell yeah, they should, because if you study media and you study literature, everything that is in the media consumed en masse shows what a society deems important. You can see what the ancient Greeks viewed important by their media. You can see what, you know, like the Kurosawa shogunate, for example, in Japan, what they viewed important because of their media. You can view what, you know, like post Islamic revolution in Saudi, what they viewed through their media, through their stories. And as a society, I want a society, and I know you want a society too. We all want a society where everybody can come to the table with their diversity, with their identity for who they are, gay, straight, Muslim, you know, Christian, whatever, you know, trans, whatever your identity is, to feel like you are belonged and welcomed. So when people say that that's a bad thing, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, what?
Yeah. I couldn't have put that any better. You hit nail on the head.
That pisses me off. Like, oh, they're forcing diversity. Therefore, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense to me, because Star Wars has always been white. And that's another point about The Last Jedi. You know, like, it gets a lot of hate for the wrong reasons. The hate really should be about whoever made the decision to shelve Finn. That should be where the hate comes from, because you said it better, bro. Finn should have been a Jedi. There is no reason why Finn wasn't a Jedi, bro. Can you imagine, bro, like just how awesome of a story arc that would have been from Stormtrooper, who had inherent goodness? Because in Star Wars, we have this theme of like, even if you're good, you will always be bad. You can turn to the dark side. You can be corrupted. This flips that. He was born into the First Order. He was born into an oppressive Hitler-esque force, and he refused to kill people. How do you not turn him into a Jedi? How? How does that make any, like, what were they smoking, bro? So like, that's what I'm saying is like, whoever that was, if it was Kathleen Kennedy, if it was Disney, Bob Iger, whoever, if it was Rian Johnson, whoever it is, I'm not trying to, you know, cast more hate to them than they already get. I'm not trying to be that toxic side of Star Wars, but somebody at Disney was responsible for that racist ass decision to shelve Finn just to sell more to the Chinese audiences. That pisses me off. He should have been a Jedi. That, if you're gonna hate on The Last Jedi, that should be the number one reason why you don't like that movie. Not because, you know, Luke Skywalker, which again, he's my favorite Star Wars character, but it happens. I have my novels if I'm tough, if I feel tough about it. I have Battlefront 2, which we can hop on if I'm feeling some type of way about it. Like, Luke has a story. Finn has nothing. Finn has nothing. So like, that should be the number one thing that this new movie with Shamino Bichinoy needs to do, bro, is Rey Skywalker needs to be badass. She needs to have crazy force powers, stuff that we have never seen. You know, something that I thought would be a cool duel, a cool moment, if light side users who are strong enough in the force can grab a blade and it doesn't burn them.
Yeah.
That would be cool. Like, imagine if you get disarmed and like a Sith is gonna cut your hand off and you're just like, nope.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, that, like, stuff like that, like, you could reinvent it, bro. It'd be so dope. But Finn has to be a Jedi. He has to be. You can't make this new saga and end episode 9 on Rey, I need to tell you something, and not make him a Jedi. Can you imagine the money that can be made from that? Like, kids, like, I'll be real, like, black kids loved Black Panther, right? Because of the representation. That's times a billion with Star Wars. So from a moral obligation, from moral responsibility, and from a story aspect, like I just said, it doesn't make any sense for him not to be a Jedi. You can do so much good for it. And John Boyega is the most knowledgeable out of all of the new cast about Star Wars.
Yeah, did you see his reaction when he saw the first trailer and the shot came up of him holding the lightsaber? Yeah. He freaked out. He's such a big Star Wars fan.
He himself said that Anakin Skywalker, like, because a lot of Disney was pushing Rey was way stronger than Anakin, and I severely disagree with that. Now I could see it, like, you know, because she's so far in the future. But at the time, no way she was stronger than Anakin. John Boyega himself was like, no, Anakin it would still spank, and he actually got in a little trouble by Disney for saying that. But he loves Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm Disney, I am giving him the bag. I'd be like, listen, I'm sorry. We made a horrible decision. We gave you a terrible, you know, story arc. We just had you scream Rey for 15, 20 years, you know? How about you're the Jedi? Maybe you're the general of the Jedi forces, whatever they want to do with him, man. But make him badass, make him have crazy force powers, make him a Jedi, and make his story mean something. Finn shouldn't just be a side character in the story. He should have as much of investment in the story as Rey does. To give an analogy, if it's a Batman versus Superman, she's Superman, he should be a Batman. Like, he should have, if it's like, 45, 45, 15, my math is wrong, but you know what I mean? Like, if the characters are delineated that way, Rey should be 45 and he should be 45. Like, Finn needs to be a Jedi. The story is there. The fans want it. Like, Finn showing up in a teaser trailer, just turning on the lightsaber would get the fans screaming.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like, there's money to be made there, bro. There's a new character to be made there. Give him something cool, like a lightsaber axe or the Protos. But whatever Finn gets, it needs to change the game like Kylo Ren changed the game with that lightsaber. Give that to Finn, bro. Like, and he is not Mace Windu's son. I need everybody to stop. Like, just because there's two Black people in Star Wars does not mean they're related. You racist idiots. Like, so, like, but Finn is a character. If I'm Disney, bro, I'm giving him whatever he wants because he's that good of an actor. I'm giving him whatever he wants to return. If you can have Tobey Maguire return, if you can have Andrew Garfield return, because that's Disney, you can have John Boyega return, and they owe him an apology.
They owe him an apology and a really big role in this film.
A huge role in this film, bro. I want to see him on a Mustafar type duel. Like, I need Finn to.
Yes.
Bro, I would play as Finn 25-8 in Battlefront 2. Like, if that was the thing. Like, I would do that all the time. So that would be the first thing. Finn, sorry about my Finn rant. Also, he's really, like, you've seen me, like, murder people with Finn in Battlefront 2, bro. Like, if you know how to use them, he's very deadly. So, like, Finn is there for sure. But number 2, the Yuzan Vong. The Yuzan Vong. And the number one reason why they have to be the main villain is because that changes the game. Rey is the strongest force user in the galaxy now. Like, maybe it was Anakin, maybe it was Darth Vader, but bro, like, the T-Rex can't rule the planet forever. Like, I don't think it's a disrespect to Anakin if he's no longer the strongest. I think the only disrespect to the sequels is they did invalidate his sacrifice. I do agree with that. Like, the Return of the Jedi is futile, like you said, he's futile. But hey, man, like, let's go to the future. Like, like, I'm not a fan of complaining. So like,
yeah,
go to the future. And I think the Yuzan Vong being completely impervious to force attacks, completely undetected by the force, being horrifying, grafting organic weapons into their body, that changes the game. How does somebody who murdered Palpatine, right? Let's give it credit. It was horribly implemented, but on paper, let's give it credit. She murdered Palpatine. She destroyed the dark side. Ain't nothing dark side touching her.
No.
Nothing dark side is touching Rey, bro. Like nothing, no Sith is coming close to Rey. Like, that's awesome. That is such a badass concept of Jedi completely spanking the Sith. Like, let's get some of that. Like, I'm tired of that. I'm tired of Sith always winning. So let's get some Jedi putting down some business. Like, I'm all for Rey doing that. But you can't do that if the Yuzan Vong are just completely impervious to the Force, completely undetected by the Force, and outside of the universe. So there could be a horrifying element of you're fighting like, like the alien from the Alien movies, and the Jedi feel like the regular people. Like that would be so cool. And you could tie Grogu into that. The Mandalorian forces, they fight hand to hand. That would be very useful against the Yuuzhan Vong. And I think the concept of having a story arc where the villains aren't determined, are they going to turn? Are they going to turn? Is he going to turn to the dark side? Like, that's so contrived and so boring now. Like, let's get something new. The Yuuzhan Vong would do that, and it would push the franchise into new heights, man. Like, and I think that also everybody says Rey needs to earn it. Me and you have both said Rey needs to earn it a bit more. She would earn it with this. She would,
yeah, definitely.
Like Mace Windu couldn't touch them. Like nobody, Qui-Gon, Luke, nobody could touch them. But Rey defeating them, and it feels like badass. Oh yeah, like yeah, give me that. Like bro, give me that. Like I want that. But I think it all falls apart without choreography. That fight choreography, bro, from Revenge of the Sith, they have to bring it back.
Yeah, that's the best lightsaber duels in all of Star Wars are the ones in the prequels. But out of the two best ones, it's between for me the one in Phantom Menace with Maul, Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan. But what just tips it as like the best one ever is obviously Anakin and Obi-Wan on Mustafar. Nothing in like Star Wars beats that, and it just felt so fast paced, so intense. And besides those two, the lightsaber fights haven't felt as intense. Obviously, like Luke and Vader, there was the heavy emotional aspect to it, but you couldn't tell that through the actual fighting. You know what I mean? The actual fights were really slow.
Yeah.
And the fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan perfectly combined the emotional aspect and the intense physical, I need to kill this person aspect.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, the Last Jedi throne room scene, it choreography wise, it wasn't there, but from that, it grabbed your attention. It was up there. It was up there. Like there was a lot of issues with the choreography that like Star Wars Theory and everybody showed, where as much as I don't like their hate baiting, I was like, that's kind of, okay, okay, god damn it. Like, like, so whatever fight choreography it is, I mean, it's 15 years in the future. Rey has all the sacred texts. She only lost like one book or something, right? Like, she has all the sacred texts. There's no reason why she wouldn't have gotten more lightsaber training from Force Ghosts. So I do agree that if they don't have that fight choreography, it doesn't need to be exactly like that, because I heard maybe the lightsabers are more thin now, so they can't do a lot of that other stuff to have that natural, because they're trying to do that natural lighting. They're trying to have it with the what was the tech that they use in the Batman and in the Mandalorian, like Greg Fraser?
The volume.
Volume, right. The lightsabers will look really fake with the volume if they use the lightsabers from the prequels. So they're trying to give it that real feel, but in doing that, you can't move it around that much. So you have time, figure it out. Like, figure it out. But we need that cool lightsaber action back, bro. Like, I don't want to see baseball bat stupid choreography, bro. Give me that, like, give me that. Like, give me, I want that. Like, bro, give me that, man. And if it isn't like that, then make it fast paced and intense. Like Pirates of the Caribbean, it's not like that. It's still intense. So you can still work within the parameters, but just somebody who knows how to fight and somebody who has fought and directed fight movies, get them on this. The Chad Stilinski, get him, like the people behind the John Wick movies, get them on the Star Wars movie, bro.
Oh yeah, that's a good shout.
Like that would be so cool. But like that's what will make and break, in my opinion, all of these movies. All of these three new movies is the fighting. Like you need that to be good. Everything else I feel like will come into play. Star Wars needs good stories and good characters, but you need that fighting. But speaking of movies, man, because we're getting close to the end of the episode, before we get into our tier listing of movies, what is your final take, I guess, of this new Jedi Order movie? Like, what should we expect? And also, do you think a lot of the Rey hate it's an echo chamber? Because at Star Wars Celebration, she got a standing ovation. It was a roar, bro. Like she was so happy to be back. Like she didn't know she was gonna get hate or booed. they were giving her a huge like acclaim, like applause. What should we expect for this movie? What do you think is gonna happen? And is like a lot of this Rey hating, is that really an echo chamber?
Um, I think we're gonna see something really fresh, something new. It's gonna be it is going to be a really interesting story about building a new Jedi Order from scratch, literally from scratch. And that's something that's very exciting because that's something we've not seen on screen. So, and if you've seen anything Star Wars related that you've seen for something new, I'm all for that. So, and in terms of the Rey hate, it's she Daisy Ridley got she finally got like that. I think it helped that it was in England. She's English, but she got the adoration that she deserves, and she's got that previous Star Wars celebrations as well. But this year, with it being like her film being announced, it was just a bit more special.
It felt like a WWE event. Like the
Yeah,
fans were roaring,
they
bro. They were
popped.
so happy. Yeah, yeah, they literally popped.
I think I don't know if it's an echo chamber, maybe, but because I have seen people who outside of the Star Wars internet circle who also just hate those films, and they're not on the internet at all. But then again, I've seen people who like who love them and love Rey as a character. So, but I think the people who are hating on her that intensely, like Star Wars theory, just need to get a life. Like
Literally,
she's Daisy Ridley herself is a really nice person who put a lot of effort into playing that character, did her absolute best with it. And it's a new character as well. It's a new character story. And we've seen like Rey's origins, really. That's what sequels were. That's Rey's origin. That's her finding out who she is. This is where her story really begins. I think people should be excited for that.
I'm so excited because, like I said, it's fresh. We don't know what we're in for, and that's what I want. I'm very excited, and yeah, tell me a better acted scene in all of Star Wars. Don't say Revenge of the Sith, that's a cheat code. But name me a better acting sequence where Kylo says, "Join me," and she's like, "Please don't do this."
Yes.
Like, I'm not saying Revenge of the Sith, bro, because that's a cheat code. That's the holy grail of Star Wars. Like, I'm not. We get it. Revenge of the Sith is peak, but I'm talking like outside of that. That's the best acted scene in Star Wars. My Apple Watch said, "Sorry, I don't understand."
Want to join in the conversation?
My Apple Watch hates the sequels. Then I don't know, but no, I mean that's a better acted scene. Better act. I don't. Outside of Revenge of the Sith, I dare anybody to find me a better acted scene in all of the Star Wars movies. The Last Jedi, there's moments of brilliance in that film. But speaking of movies, bro, you are Mr. Star Wars.
Yes.
Let's give your ranking of the Star Wars films, man. Let's get it.
Let's share the screen. Let's get the tier list going. So this is the films and TV shows.
Okay.
I forgot to put Tales of the Jedi in there, but that's fine without counting that, I think, because it wasn't like a proper series. First up, we've got the GOAT, Revenge of the Sith. Is this going in GOAT, great, good, meh, or the bottom tier, Thor Love and Thunder?
No way did you actually make the worst one, Thor Love and Thunder. Unrelated, but did you guys see James Mangold? He liked the tweet of a Star Twitter. He said, we're not Taika Waititi is not getting a Star Wars movie, and the GIF was like a celebration, and like he liked it. Oh man, that was funny. Like Taika makes some great movies, man. I don't know what he was smoking when he made Thor: Love and Thunder. Legitimately the worst superhero movie of all time. It is worse than Batman and Robin. I will agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially from the comic book it was based off of. It was so good. How do you butcher that so bad? Our friend Max, he said this. He said, Ironically, Taika was more like Gore the God Butcher than Gore was. Big butchered the story, So shout out
Yeah.
Max for saying that. But yeah, no. Anyway, back on topic. Yeah, this is the GOAT. Revenge of the Sith has to be in GOAT conversation. 110%. I dare anybody to
Yep.
say something bad about that. Like that was so good.
Next up is Phantom Menace. See, I enjoy Phantom Menace, but as a film, it's not great. Like it does have some incredible moments. I'm happy putting this in good. What about you?
I would say meh.
Really?
I would say meh because
Oh,
outside of the final 30 minutes, I truly just did not find myself engaged. I didn't hate it. I was bored.
okay.
Outside the last 30 minutes, I
That's
would put it
that's fair.
meh.
We'll
Uh,
put it at the top of Meth for now.
okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
Um, Return of the Jedi.
Great.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be at the top of great. I think there might be a few above it in that tier, but yeah,
I agree.
it's brilliant. It's really good.
Oh yeah.
Um, it's a great end film in the trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
The next one has got to be Go Empire Strikes Back.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Above or below Revenge of the Sith. For me, it's one below.
I'll have to get back to you at the end of this tier listing. I
Okay.
have to get back. I'm gonna have to think about that.
Okay.
That's like Godzilla versus Kong, Like, like
I'll put it second for now.
okay.
Attack of the Clones.
Thor: Love and Thunder.
Really?
I did not like that movie, bro. It was so bad, bro. The sand is coarse. It's irritating. It gets everywhere. The duel with Yoda and Dooku was cool though. Outside of that,
It's on the same. It's kind of on the same level as Phantom Menace for me.
yeah, they must put it there because they are pretty comparable.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
but do you so you think it's worse than Phantom Menace?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. I think
we'll keep it below that then.
yeah.
Have you seen the original 2003 Clone Wars series? Because I've put that
Oh
in
yeah,
there.
yeah. I
For
would
me,
put that.
oh,
Hmm?
where would you put that?
I would put that on GOAT.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
The lightsaber battle. This is top three lightsaber battles in all Star Wars. Asajj Ventress versus Anakin.
I saw that. I saw
Oh
that.
my god! You
It
see
was so
Anakin
good.
really tap into the dark side. He gets his scar and he takes hold of a red lightsaber. And holy,
And the
holy.
animation was so good, man. Yeah, to me that's GOAT. It's GOAT.
And it's on Disney Plus, but it's not in the series format. It's in like two sort of hour long movie type things where the episodes have just been all cut together on Disney Plus.
Okay.
There
Okay.
is a way of watch if you want to watch that and the other Clone Wars series in order, you have to stop at a certain point, then go and watch Clone Wars, then come back to this, then watch season 7 of Clone Wars or something like that. But
Okay.
you can fit it into a rewatch of the whole saga, and it's the first ever appearance of General Grievous, and the way he's introduced in this show is terrifying, and it's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. He just stomps on him like
Yeah.
it's
Next up, A New Hope. I'd say
good.
top of great.
Yeah. 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 You can't have it without I because I compare it to the movies that came after. So when I look at it from that, it's probably the higher tier of good. But if you want to put it
Oh,
in
okay.
great, if you want, yeah, like I don't think that movie's bad at all. It's very enjoyable, fun time.
I think it's better than Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, my bias for Luke as a character says Return of the Jedi, but you take that out of it, New Hope has better structure, and Ewoks did kind of kill Return of the Jedi a bit. So yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Next up is the second series we've encountered in this tier list, The Mandalorian.
I'm gonna put that in great simply because we don't know how it ends. If you okay,
Yeah,
if you
that's fair.
said
That's fair.
if you said up until season two, like because that was the last complete season, I would put it in GOAT.
Mhm.
So, but just because it isn't done, I would put it in the higher tier of great.
Okay, I'll put it at the top of great for now.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, it would have been in GOAT before this season. This season has been really good. I have really enjoyed it, but you're right, it's not been on the same level as the previous two. The most recent episode really ramped it up. So I think maybe if the finale could save it and get it back into that GOAT tier, possibly.
And think about how good of a show that is. Like, save it from great. So
Yeah,
it's already
yeah.
a lot of the fans online, content creators, and this is not just Star Wars Theory 2, but like a lot of people are saying like, oh, like, the show wasn't streamed that much. Oh, that means, we're tired of Kathleen Kennedy. No, it's because they didn't promote it that well. Same thing that happened with Shazam, same thing that's happening with Flash. It just, unfortunately, for whatever reason, it wasn't promoted that well. Season
Yeah.
1 and season 2 were promoted heavily, but the quality of the show is still really good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Next up, Rise of Skywalker. I think this is the first in the Thor Love and Thunder tier for me.
Yeah, I love and Thunder. It's and no disrespect to the actors who are a part of it. I love the scene. First of all, I love when movies are aware of memes. So when Palpatine said dark side of the Force is a pathway, I thought that one was awesome. When Palpatine said do it, I was like, they said it. They said it. They said the thing. When Palpatine was like, do it.
Yeah.
Like I was so hyped. I'm like, they actually did it. And that scene where Kylo and Rey are staring at each other, I do think one of them should have a different color lightsaber, but that's neither here or there. When they were looking at each other and you saw the soft Force music, that da 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 da, and then she put her lightsaber back, and then Kylo pulled it out.
Yeah.
That, you can't tell me that it doesn't give you chills, bro. So there are moments of brilliance, but it was just so poorly written. I have to put it in Thor: Love and Thunder, but it's still enjoyable.
Just speaking about like memeable moments and callbacks to iconic lines. In No Way Home, when Norman says, "I'm something of a scientist myself," that is the audience in my cinema just absolutely erupted at that moment.
Yeah. No, like Bree was like, why is everybody like screaming and laughing? Like, is he not supposed to be a scientist or something? And I was like, I'll explain after. But she was so confused because she's not a nerd like us. So she was like, wait, you guys didn't want him to be a scientist, or you did? Like, I'm confused. I was like, never mind.
Oh, that's great. We should do it. By the way, we should probably do a tier list of like Marvel films or something at one point.
Yeah, that will be a hot one. Ooh, I'm that. Yeah.
Next up, we've got Rogue One. I love Rogue One. For me, this is GOAT. Yeah,
GOAT.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes above the old Clone Wars series for me.
I would put it above Empire too. I would put it above Revenge of the Sith.
You point it as the GOAT Star Wars movie.
Best made, best character direction. You get a perspective that isn't Jedi and Sith, so you really feel the mortality of the characters. And bro, when I saw each character get picked off, I don't know, like there was a moment I went out because I was 18, 19 when I first saw the film. For whatever reason, I just had an intense fear of death after I saw that movie. Like I was like, it just really hit me, like, bro, we're all going to die. And like I was like, oh my God, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Like Vader coming down the hallway, all of them getting blown up.
Yeah.
And they were all killed in unpredictable ways. It wasn't by Vader like all the theories said, like all the theorists, it was original, and I really liked that. And yeah, no, Vader, like that, like I don't know, that film had me reading a lot of philosophy books after. I'm not gonna lie. So about death and coming to terms with death and getting over your fear of death. So yeah, to me, it's the GOAT.
I'm happy with that. I've got no complaints with that. What about The Last Jedi? I think it's either top of Met or bottom of good, I think.
I agree with that. I
think we'll put it in good for now because that tier's empty.
Yeah. It's just The Last Jedi, to me, it's brilliance combined with missed opportunity.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with that.
But I love Kylo Ren, and that is Kylo Ren's movie. So, hey, like I said, mixed bag.
There is some standout moments in it. And another scene as well that visually is phenomenal is what's her name? The woman who takes over after Leia sort of
Oh, the pink-haired
Goes
woman.
up,
Yeah.
when she sends the ship through like the First Order Star Destroyer. That's brilliant. So
Brilliant. Yeah.
executed so well. Next we've got Andor. Andor's in the GOAT tier for me.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Go. Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'd put that above OG Clone Wars, below Empire for me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next we've got Bad Batch. I watched season 1. I haven't watched any of season 2 yet, but I've heard season 2 has been really good. Season 1 didn't. It hooked me in at the beginning, but it sort of lost me a bit towards the end. So, and because there's not much of it yet, I'm fine putting this in good, I think.
I actually haven't watched Bad Batch at all, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll just put it in good then for now. What about Force Awakens? Where does that go for you?
Great.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah, I'll
great.
find that.
I
Bottom of great.
Yeah, yeah, and that's not a disrespect to the movie. It's just like, um, they did a fantastic job of us feeling for these new characters. Kylo Ren was really well acted in that movie, as he is in all of them. And I just loved the dichotomy with him and Vader, like his rage moments. Like I thought that was so brilliantly done, and killing Han. That bro, like Real Madrid players got in fights because one of them like search that up. Real Madrid players, Force Awakens, they got into a fight in training because one of them spoiled it.
Really?
Because yeah, so that movie had a chokehold on the world, bro. Like
I got Hans
yeah,
Death spoiled for me.
I didn't get it spoiled for me. When I saw that, I was
Yeah.
like they were. I was on team Kylo, and then I was like, I hate Kylo. And then that Finn, like the dialogue when Kylo was like, that lightsaber, it belongs to me. And when Kylo was like, we're not done yet, and Finn is like, come get it, and it was a personal duel. Like I really like that duel. I love that duel, bro. So yeah, for me, it would be great. I think it's the best one out of the sequel movies by
Yeah,
far.
I agree with that 100%. Solo for me is in good. Like it's a good film. It's enjoyable, but it's not great.
I agree.
Not like it doesn't have any problems with it. It's just good. It's just good.
I agree. I agree.
Better or worse than Last Jedi?
Uh, I think it's lesser on the than Last Jedi because Last Jedi just has moments of brilliance in it.
Yeah. See,
You know?
there's no like standout brilliant moments in Solo, is there?
Yeah, but the Last Jedi has brilliant moments in it, bro. Like
Yeah.
Last Jedi, if you had a top 10 list of best moments of Star Wars films, Last Jedi would have 3 or 4 of them. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
at least there's that. Oh
Um,
God, this next one.
Book of Boba Fett, it's got to be meh, hasn't it?
I would put Love and Thunder. I thought it was
Okay.
trash.
Yeah,
I thought it was dog. I
it
thought it was dog.
was poorly made as well because in some scenes you could see the interior of like of set walls. You could see behind
Yeah.
the set walls. Like that's just you shouldn't be making that mistake at this level. So
And
yeah,
I think it's the treatment of Cad Bane. Like he's such a menacing villain, and you take him out like that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and then the whole I want to rule with respect. Like, screw that. You're Boba Fett. Like, what? Like, oh my God. Like, there's just they butchered his characterization so bad there. It's gotta be Love and Thunder for me, man. It's gotta be
Above or below Rise of Skywalker.
below Rise of Skywalker. That's how much I hated this show. It was not good.
Yeah, fair enough. Uh, Clone Wars, like the 3D version, that's got to be go. I would put that above Andor, but below Empire.
Season 7, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, bro, that Ahsoka duel. Oh my
That was one
God,
of the best
bro.
lightsaber duels in Star Wars.
Bro, like they need to bring that in the sequel. They need to bring that in the new Jedi Order. Oh God, yeah, it was so good.
Star Wars Rebels, I'd
I
put
would put
that.
it in.
Mm, I'm tempted to put it in GOAT, but we do have a lot in GOAT. But there's some phenomenal moments in it. But if you're talking about it like as a show, there is also a lot of like filler episodes. But
I put it in the higher tier of good.
Of good.
Because no, I'm tripping. I'd put it in a mid tier of great.
Should we put it in between Return of the Jedi and A New Hope?
I would put it below Return of the Jedi, above Force Awakens.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. And then I can tell where you're going to put this next one. Star Wars Visions.
Goat, goat, goat. And here's my argument. Yeah, I would put it above everything, and it's completely selfish. But also, we forgot Obi-Wan. But if I had to put Obi-Wan,
Oh shit!
I would put it in meh.
That shows where we rank it. That we completely
Yeah,
forgot to include it.
I would put it in meh. It felt fan produced at times. Obi-Wan should have been an event, and it was not given that treatment. I don't want a second season. That forest chase scene alone, trash. But episodes 5 and 6 were awesome.
Yeah. If it was just sort of the final battle between Vader and Obi-Wan, that's in great.
I just thought it was poorly made, but yeah, no, I would put Visions and GOAT simply because it expands the horizons of Star Wars. Like a Japanese samurai Ronin black and white Princess Mononoke Studio Ghibli animation style for Jedi and Sith. How is that not cool?
That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. You have Attack on Titan animation for one episode. You have Naruto animation. I loved the anime style because it allowed for different reinterpretations of the Force. And I think the fact that it was only 15, 20, like the longest episode is 20 minutes. So they're very short. So that creative restraint forces you to really care about the characters. Otherwise, the whole show flops, right? And each episode is its own story. So unfortunately, I hope we get more Ronin episodes in season 2, bro, because the Ronin is probably my favorite Star Wars character. He's so cool. In case you don't know who the Ronin is, watch the episode called The Ronin. It's so good. It's episode 1 of Star Wars Visions, bro. We gotta watch that. Like we have to watch that like live, bro. When you pull up in Chicago, we're gonna get pizza, deep dish pizza. You know what I mean? Like I'll get the goods. I'll get the leaf. You know what I'm saying? We'll have a great time. And I got to show you this. We'll have a Guinness. I'll show you this because I'm telling you, man, it's such good Star Wars content. I love Visions. But yeah, essentially each episode it's its own self-enclosed story. So there isn't this expectation of theories or cameos. It's just fresh storytelling. And off the top of my head, the 3 episodes that like moved me, that chilled me. Episode 1 with the Ronin. Episode 2, it's Pokemon animation style, and it covers this music rock band who fails to pay their tax to Jabba the Hutt, so they're gonna get executed, and Boba Fett's hunting them down. Yeah, and then the Village Bride, bro. The Village Bride. It is such powerful storytelling. It's like the animation from Atlantis, The Lost Empire, like the Disney movie. And bro, like the Village Bride, it is how they talk about the Sith and the Force and how the Jedi come into play. It is so epic. How they made it to feel that epic in like 5 minutes, like, bro, it is so good. But why I put Visions in the GOAT category is because not only does it have fantastic stories as it is, creates fantastic new characters, and I love the anime influence on Star Wars. Like they have katanas, like Star Wars katanas. Like that's dope. That is so dope. But also it allowed for different reinterpretations of the Force and the characters. So like Boba Fett, how he's seen in the show in one of the episodes is horrifying, They reinvent so much and they have different story arcs. Like there's this one that's an over the top Super Smash Bros type of vibe where the lightsabers are literally 100 feet long and they're cutting through entire fleets. But it's so cool. It's so cool. It's very Sonic X. It's very Pokemon inspired. It just pushes where Star Wars can go and pushes where Star Wars should go as a brand. And it shouldn't just be this, old 1970s vibe. You should expand it. And that's why in Star Wars Visions, they're getting 3D animation. They're getting clay animation, like from Chicken Run and Wallace and Gromit. They're getting Indian animation styles. We're getting some Mesoamerican styles, if I'm not excuse me, not mistaken, we're getting the Studio Ghibli. So it's not just anime now. It's like animation from all over the world from different mediums as well. And that expands the Star Wars universe. And I think Star Wars as a brand needs to grow past the Skywalkers, and Visions is all about that. And I love the Skywalkers. Like, look at my shirt. You know, like I love Darth Vader. But we got to move past it at some point, and that's why I'm so excited for this Rey Skywalker movie, this Jedi Order movie, and that's why I'm so hyped for season 2 of Visions, man. Like, I'm gonna YouTube if there's like a Ronin mod for like PC on Battlefield.
There's got to be somewhere.
He's such a cool character, but yeah, I would just selfishly, I would absolutely put Visions at the top of that GOAT list. I haven't had that much fun watching Star Wars in such a long time. And before anybody tries to invalidate me, I grew up on the prequels. I grew up on the Clone Wars cartoon. That was Star Wars to me, but you grow and you evolve as a person. And that's not me being a corporate, bootlicker. That's just me not being addicted to hating on everything. And I feel like as a Star Wars fandom, we need to move past that. I feel like as fandoms in general, we need to move past that. Like, let's enjoy stuff instead of ripping stuff apart,
Yeah, I agree, 100%. Yeah, people just need to learn how to, if they don't like something, yeah, that's fine. You don't have to be a dick about it. Just let people who do enjoy it.
Yeah, because like 10 years from now, right, the prequels will be niche, unfortunately. Fortunately or unfortunately, where you stand, the sequels will be the face of Star Wars. It is what it is. It happens, right? Like Larry Bird wasn't the face of the league to be fair, he never was. But like Magic Johnson wasn't the face of the league forever. Kobe Bryant wasn't the face forever. Michael Jordan wasn't the face. That's out in order, but you get what I'm saying. LeBron, he still is kind of the face, but he isn't going to be the GOAT forever. So it happens. Stuff change in time. Let's embrace that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's changing for the change that's coming is good.
I'm so excited. Star Wars is back, baby. Star Wars is back. It is so we need to save up for Japan.
Oh, yes. Star Wars Celebration in Japan. Catch a New Japan show when we're there, maybe a Pro Wrestling Noah show. Oh.
Can you imagine the Star Wars Vision stuff that is going to sell like insane? I'm gonna pull up like the Ronin. I don't have hair. I'm going to get like a weave or something and glue it on my head just to look like the Ronin, bro. Like, I'm telling you, like, I'm so like Star Wars Celebration in Japan is about to be lit. We have to make this happen, man. You're making America happen.
We've got time to save up. We've got 2 years to save up. So
down. We need to make this happen. But this has been the longest episode of The Invincibles by far, and I don't regret it at all because we love Star Wars.
I have no idea. I think it's got to be at least 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours now.
Hey, it's our podcast is like a movie, man, and it should be a movie length. I'm all for it, bro. I'm all for it. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm very excited. Oli, out of all this new Star Wars news, including the games, what are you most excited for?
At the moment, I'd say Jedi Survivor, but that's because it's like 2 weeks away. But overall, probably the Dawn of the Jedi film. I think that's the most interesting. Cause it's something so far removed, so far away from anything else we've seen in terms of like the timeline. So it's got to be that one for me. Well, and for you, is it the Rey one or is it something else?
Well, if we're going off of like what's coming up, it's definitely the new Jedi Fallen Order game and Visions, 100%. Out of these 3 new major movies, it's neck and neck for me with the new Jedi Order and the Dawn of the Jedi. Because how you broke it down, bro, I'm like, I want to see this so bad now.
You need to read the Dawn of the Jedi comics. You really do.
I'm gonna check that out, bro. I'm gonna check that out. And right underneath it would probably be the Mando-Verse film, but that's because it's still it's still happening, right? Like it's the events that of the shows and stuff haven't even finished yet. So my excitement for it is based off of that. When Mandalorian, I'm gonna catch up on it right after this, actually, of Mandalorian. So maybe my opinions change, but Dave Filoni doesn't miss when it comes to Star Wars, and that could be an Avengers level movie, 100%. So Star Wars is back, man. I'm very, very excited. Thank you, Disney. Thank you, Lucasfilm. Thanks for making it happen because we love this world, man. We love this galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, absolutely.
But with that, guys, this is the end of today's podcast episode. A lot of fun. You know who we are. I'm Zen.
I'm Oli.
And we
are
the
Invincibles.